Hey everybody! If anybody's on, let me know if you can hear me and see me. Good morning! Can you hear me now? Let me know if you can see me, hear me. Good morning. Drop a note in the chat box. Let me know if you can hear me and see me okay. We'll get rolling in just a few minutes. Good morning, Jean Bates. Thank you for being my technical assistant. It is 11 a.m. So it's 87 degrees in the studio, getting started. It's in the morning, you know, nothing's really happened yet. So I got the kiln on and it's at 1067 and it's hot in here. It is going to be a hot day today. Is the music too loud in the background? I can turn that down. Thanks for letting me know you can hear me and see me okay. It is very, very warm next to the kiln. All right. So today is the last day of the League of NH Craftsmen's annual fair, our virtual fair. And I am going to do a little artist Q&A, studio tour, and a surprise glassblowing demo for you today. All right, thanks Jean Bates for letting me know the background music is just right. Seems a little loud on my end, but if you're fine with it, I'll roll with it. All right, so we'll give it just a couple minutes for folks to join before we get going. And I've also started my Instagram live. If you are just joining, my name is Heather, and I'm a member of the League of NH Craftsmen. I'm a glassblower, and today is the 9th and final day of our annual Craftsmen's Fair, and due to circumstances, we had to take the fair online instead of being in person. So that does mean different things to different folks. This is a new effort going online with the fair, and I'm really excited to be able to do a demo with you. Today is a little bit different than what I've been doing. Today I'd like to do a Q&A and a little studio tour so you can see where I work, where the magic happens. And if you have any questions, definitely ask in the chat box, and I'm happy to answer anything. Anything you want to know about it. If you're a glass nerd like me, ask away. And if you're not and you want to know something, what's that on my desk or whatever, just ask. So we'll give it just a minute or two before we get rolling, let more people come on. I work with a torch that's fueled with propane and oxygen, and it gets pretty hot. I'm guessing maybe over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Hello, Steve and Sue. Awesome. Nice to see you here. So I've got a kiln here that everything goes into to slowly cool down to relieve any stress. And I work with tubing. This is an example of some tubing here. I work with rods, clear rods. I have a lot of colored glass. And if we start the tour now, might be able to pick this up and give it a spin. Good morning, Trisha 3. So here's my kiln. It's pretty large. I think a small person could get in there if they wanted. Got my exhaust fan behind me. I've got a couple boxes of neon tubing behind me. I inherited my uncle's neon shop earlier this year, and I want to share the wealth. So I am sending some tubing off to a friend in California who's a neon artist. So behind me, I have a lot of display stuff for the fair. You know, normally this would all be off the shelves. That shelf would be clean, and I would be up at Mount Sunapee selling. And this is the window behind me. I get a lot of sun in here. This place is like a fishbowl. I am surrounded by windows. So you can see more stuff is let's see if I can do this. Multitasking. So you can see more stuff behind me is on the shelf. A lot of that goes up to Sunapee. But some of it is it's also neon equipment. So let's take a look around. So here we go. We got some neon equipment here. Boy, this is not easy to maneuver. Got all kinds of stuff. All my stuff for displays and whatnot. And you know, when it's cooler in here, when it's cooler weather, I like to bike. Got a bike on the trainer here. So while the kiln is heating up, I get on the bike. Good morning, Ginger Ninja Glass. So turning around now, I've got more stuff. So on these shelves, it's mostly parts, equipment. Got a sewing machine up there. It's just storage. And then here, I've got stuff that's ready to go. Finished product. I've got a lot of straws. I've got components that could be turned into some other project. I've got ornaments in this box. And I share my studio. So you can see behind me that is my shopmate's space. He's working on restoring a jukebox, which is pretty cool. So pretty small shop. Here's all my glass. These are all the colored rods that I was telling you about. A lot of fun. And then let's see. I have to walk backwards to do this. Here are my oxygen tanks. And down there, that's my propane. This is how I make my torch run. Here's some older work that I did a while back. A few different pieces. Stephen Sue says, "It is amazing how we craftspeople can make such creations in our studios, small, big, compact, or spread out." Oh, you are so right. You know, I don't have a lot of space in this studio, but I use up every inch, and I feel like for all the magic that I do, it happens right here in this space. It's like a 12 by 12 space, and I don't even move a whole lot when I'm working. So this is where it all happens. I gotta set these down for a second. I didn't realize how interesting it would be to record two different platforms, two different devices at the same time, because they both work differently. Ginger Ninja Glass says, "Baby's crying, gotta run, see ya." So feel free to ask more questions. I think I'm going to turn on the torch now and give you guys a demo. Because, you know, my studio is cool and all, but I know that's not really why you came here. You came here to see some fire. So I made this ahead of time this morning. This is an example of what I will demo for you today, a little surprise demo. Really wasn't sure what I was going to make today, but then it came to me. So this is a donut or a torus. Pretty cool shape. This is a component that I can use for anything else in the future. Hey Hot Mess Glass, nice to see you here. Thanks for joining me. Last day, the 9th day of the League of NH Craftsmen's annual fair. We took it online this year. So I joined two bubbles together, and you'll see what happens. So I prepped these a long time ago. These were already ready, so I took them off the shelf. Got some striped tubing that I did a little wigwag design with. So I will join these two bubbles together. Stephen Sue says, what's the difference between lamp work and blown? Well, you know, I think it depends on your personal perspective. So, for example, you know, if you're making things that are solid, I wouldn't exactly call that glass blowing since there's no blowing air into it. But when I work on the torch, sometimes I do solid stuff, sometimes I do blown. Most of the time I am making hollow work. So I think it's really just terminology, flame working, lamp working, blown. Diane Trullo joined. Good morning. Hello. All right, so I'm going to switch into my glasses here. Make sure we've got power. There we go. And definitely feel free to ask questions. All right. So this is the piece that I made ahead of time so that you can have an idea as to where we're going. I could use this piece in something else in the future. I could turn it into a pendant, whatever I want to do. So the design that's in the very center was made from lined tubing, and that is some lined tubing that I made a while ago. So right now, I'm going to work on joining these two bubbles. So this is a hollow bubble that I made using colored rods. And even though it doesn't look hot, it is really, really hot right now. The kiln is at 1063 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'll start this by just teasing out a point on the center. So I'll blow this little tip on the center, really thin. But before I do, I'm feeling like this is just a little off center, so before I keep going, I want to straighten that a little bit. Hello, Schizola72. Thanks for joining us this morning. Feel free to ask any questions. Live Q&A today. Just took a little visit around the studio. Yeah, that's a bit better. I blew the tip of this really thin. Now I'll heat up some of this clear, so it's really hot, and this green bubble is cold. I'll make a hole, the hot glass. So by using a piece of clear rod like that, I can make a really nice clean break. Then I can add a little black lip wrap. So that when I add that other bubble, the seam looks really neat, really clean. Break that off. I'll melt this lip wrap in. Paddle it in. Make sure it doesn't fall off. Secret to a really nice lip wrap, one of the secrets anyway, is keeping the hole small when you add your lip wrap before opening it way up. Good morning, Gaia Glass. Good morning, Dim's Glass. Okay, so now I've got this bubble with a little hole in a lip wrap started. There we go. So I'm going to put this back in the kiln to stay warm. And now I'll open up the end of this. So this is a piece of line tubing. Let's see here. Oh yeah. So it started out like this. I bought this. I did not make this, but I do make my own backstacks occasionally. So then I actually have an on-demand demo of this process where I start with that straight line tubing, and then I go back and forth and I make this little wigwag bubble. Jean Bates says, how does the glass rod make a hole? You really have to be coordinated. So this tubing is it's a pretty involved process. There's line tubing stacked or sandwiched between two glass tubes. And then it's just heated up, and the air is sucked out with a vacuum pump. And then it becomes one continuous piece of material that you can use in anything else. And you don't need much. A little bit goes a long way. So I am going to kind of do the same thing here. Tease out the end of this. That one blew out really nice. Take my black stringer again. Add a lip wrap. There's a tiny bit of excess there, so I think I'll take that little bit off. Push it down to make sure that it doesn't fall off. Sometimes that happens. Glass gets too cold and it just pops right off. Alright, so now I have this nice piece of prep ready to go. Colors I'm working with today are forest green, and then this tubing here, I feel like it reminds me of the fall, like a harvest mix. So it's got green and some sparkles, yellow, maybe some chartreuse, red, orange, and some brown and black. Because all these colors are a little bit different in their chemical composition, some might be a little bit more stiff, others might be a little bit more soft. So how they make this glass move will be determined by the chemical composition of the glass. I work with borosilicate glass, which is a very durable, stiff kind of glass. It's used in scientific labware, and it's also used in the kitchen, Pyrex bakeware. All right, so now comes some fun. Joining the two bubbles. So I use a earplug to plug up one side. Oh, but first I should make sure that my holes are about the same. And this one is a little small, so I'm going to open this up just a little bit. Well, I don't need that. All right. I like to use my jacks. Maybe just a touch more. There we go. All right, I think that's the right size now. A little kiln dust on there. Yep, that's pretty close. All right. So now it's time to join the bubbles. Not hard enough. They don't want to stick together. we go. In retrospect, I probably should have made those holes a lot bigger first. Oops. Okay, we'll make it work. Oh boy. Got a little too thin. Sides rip. Yeah, I really should have opened up those holes first. It happens. Mistakes happen. All right. So, if I were to do this over again, I would have opened those tiny holes a little bit bigger before I joined them. So that gave me a little bit of trouble as I was connecting the pieces. but I got it on there. Joined the two bubbles. So now I'll melt this down and shape it. Had to do a little bit of repair work, a little smoothing out before we can really move forward. So sometimes that happens. Forget a step or make a decision that, you know, maybe wasn't the best decision. It happens. Feel free to ask any questions. Happy to answer any questions about glass in general or anything about this process, anything you want to know. Been doing this for over 23 years. Learned from a lot of people along the way. So it's something that I've never stopped doing once I started. Mistakes are part of the process. Yes, Diane Trill, I totally agree. Totally agree. And you know, sometimes mistakes lead to really interesting things that you can put to good use in the future. Much better. All right. So a lot of the glassblowing techniques that I do with the torch, I've learned from working at the furnace. Hey, Dad. Nice to see you here. Let's see what happened to my Instagram. Oh, phone got too hot. All right. Team Bates says, like Bob Ross says, there's no mistakes, just happy accidents. Yes, that's true. All right. So here's where I'm at so far. You can see a little bit of wrinkling here at the seam, but that's okay. It'll work itself out. So we've got this cool design on top, this big green bubble on the bottom. So that technique this act of joining two bubbles together, that is the Italian technique called incolmo. And so I'm putting that into practice here at the torch. So now what I'll do is I will start to heat this up and shape it so that it expands wide and low. So right now it's a bit of a taper or a cone, and that's going to change real fast. Feel free to ask any questions, comments. So you can see it's changing shape, becoming more of a lemon shape now. Yep, Mom and Dad are on the line here. Probably the first time they're really seeing me do any of this work. So I'm doing a lot of the shaping here just with heat and gravity. Jean Bates says, how much force do you use when you blow? That's a great question. So if you hold up your hand in front of your face and you just blow like a whisper, it's very light. Keith Larry says, have you ever made any bells or hummingbirds? No. Nope, haven't made either of those things. I'll turn this heat up a little bit. Really, really hot. It's cooling off very, very fast. So I'll do that a little bit more. Get that to just slump down a little bit more. So you can see I've really changed the shape of this. Looking kind of, it's round, but it's flat. And this is how we're going to achieve that donut shape. So I'll just inflate the backside a little bit more. So now you can see the shape has changed a lot. So now it looks very squat, round, kind of like a Christmas ornament maybe. Woo! Turn that down, that is hot. So this has cooled down quite a bit. You can see the design now. What am I making? Great question. I am making a donut, or torus, as the geometric shape is called. But a lot of people call them donuts. So as you can see, there's a hole in the center, and there's a design in the front. So that's what we're going for here. There. So in order to make this donut, I have to change the axis. So right now, this piece is in the horizontal axis. I'm going to add a tube vertically and take the tube in my left hand off. So I've got some tubes over here ready to go. But before I do that, I'm going to add a handle. I think I might make this hole just a little bit bigger. And then I'll use this tool called a Sophietta to add air at the right time. So I'm adding a punty, that's the clear rod in my right hand. This will act as a handle. Now I'm heating up the glass in my left hand so that I can start to peel it away and remove it. And that's done. So now I can heat up the back side of this and puff it up using my Sophietta, since I can't use my blow tube right now. So that gives me a nice rounded shape here. Do that one more time. All right. Now I can add this tube here. And I'm doing this to chill this punty so that it just pops right off, rather than trying to hit it or knock it to come off. So let's just give this a quick flash, just a little bit of extra heat. Keith Larrabee says, do you save the donut holes? Ha! Well, you'll see what happens. Alright, so this is what we have now. So I changed the axis. Got a design here. And now you'll see some of that magic happening for the donut hole. Alright, so I popped a hole in the center. Now I'll heat around the hole. And then I will push this hole towards center. And I'm heating the glass around that hole so that all the glass moves. And so that it moves evenly. There. So I've pushed it in towards center. You can see it has a strange shape now, but this is the beginning of the donut. Now I'll do the same thing on the back. So I've popped a second hole on the back side. Same thing. I'll heat around the hole, pushing the glass towards the middle. A little more heat in there. Now I'll go back to that design side and I'll heat that up, push that in a little bit more. Now I just focus my flame in the center, and I really work to get the sides joined. Got to get them to stick to one another. I have just a tiny little hole in there. So I'll use my little torch and I'll fix that. Okay. So now we've got the hole sealed. So I have a little bit more work to do to make this hole really nice. And the secret to this technique is keeping only the hole in the center hot, not the sides. You don't want to get the sides hot. Melt in that seam in the center. Make sure that the glass is fused. So I'll do a little bit of heating and shaping on the outside. Sheen Bates says, that's so cool. Surprising how much work it takes to make such a simple object. Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of steps. So I started by taking this lined tubing. You know, I didn't make this. I could have, but I bought this. But this was made. And then I took a piece of this, a little small piece, and then I twisted it back and forth. And then I turned that into its own bubble. So, you know, that was a whole separate step right there. And that is this piece that you see here. But then this green piece, that started out as just a clear, transparent green rod that I coil potted as if you were to do in clay. And I built a bubble that way. So we're looking pretty good so far. Just a little bit more shaping. Got a little hot in the center. All right, so this is a donut. So from here, I could do anything with it. I could turn it into a pendant that you could wear as a necklace. I could use it as another design component in some larger piece. There's, really my imagination is the limit here. So I can use this for just about anything. So until I decide what it is that I'll do with it, I'm just going to leave it at this stage. But you've just seen how to make a glass donut. And you've seen how I joined two bubbles together to make this donut. So I'll put this back in the kiln where it will anneal or slowly cool down for at least 20 minutes. So we have a couple minutes left. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box. Otherwise, check out my website, see what I've got for sale. A lot of ornaments, glass drinking straws, earrings, necklaces, sculpture, all kinds of cool stuff. And of course, definitely check out the League of New Hampshire Craftsmen's website where you can see more demos by my fellow craftspeople, artists. We have all kinds of media represented. We have more glass, we have fiber arts, we have ceramics, pottery, woodworking. We have so much recorded on-demand content as well as live content. All of us that are participating, there's over 100 of us. We all have our websites linked to the League of New Hampshire Craftsmen's website, so you can see all of us that are participating and visit our websites. Keith Larrabee says, what would happen if you blew too hard? Would it crack or explode? Yeah, so that piece that I just put in the kiln, when it was really hot and I was blowing it and shaping it, to get that initial kind of dome shape before I went into the donut process, if I had kept blowing or blew too hard, the glass skin would have gotten too thin and it would have just kind of shattered, very, very fine, thin, almost like an eggshell, I guess. I wouldn't be able to fix that so easily. Jean Bates says, this was amazing. Thanks for doing this. Well, I appreciate everyone who has tuned in to today's live demo. Today was our 9th and final day of the annual Craftsman's Fair virtual. Normally we would be on the mountain, but because of coronavirus this year, we've taken our show online. So definitely go to nhcrafts.org. Give us all a look, see what's happening. We've got demos. We've got a moose that you can bid on. If you can, support the League by donating the cost of an admission ticket. That will help us to continue our legacy of bringing craft and art to the public. So thank you so much for joining, and hopefully next year you'll see us in person at Mount Sunapee. Enjoy the rest of the day. Namaste.